Hey Ronnie, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Frank,
All right, downtown, I'm dropping. No, I'm joking.
nice to see you. How you doing?
Good news.
Good,
Me, my one eye.
right? Hey, one at a time. That's what it takes.
Uh,
I'm gonna just go on mute. I got a bunch of stuff going on over here. I'm just gonna be listening in the background. All right, guys?
Absolutely. All right. We'll give everybody else a couple more minutes here. Brendan, welcome.
Hey everyone.
All right. We'll give everyone one more minute here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. So just some quick housekeeping before we jump in. This is an engineering-led session. So if you have questions, you are absolutely welcome to raise your hand and come off mute, or use the Q&A in the chat box. And if there's something you want us to go deeper on, just let us know. So today we want to look at how, one more. All right, so today we're going to look at how organizations like yours can modernize faster and significantly reduce their VMware-related costs by leveraging the combined strengths of Red8 and Nutanix. So with Broadcom's recent price increases and their aggressive shift towards VCF-only licensing, many customers are finding themselves either priced out or just pushed into these complex architectures that they simply don't want or need. So today we're going to show you how Nutanix can provide you with a simple, high-performance alternative and how Red 8 can help make that transition painless. But first, I'd like to introduce myself and my Nutanix counterpart, Frank. I joined Red 8 about 11 years ago, and before that, I was a VMware architect going all the way back to the ESX 3 days. I took my previous company from its first VM to several thousand of them, and have continued to sell and support the products here at my role at Red 8. But since the Broadcom acquisition, I like to say that I spent the first half of my career moving people into VMware, and it looks like I'm going to spend the second half moving people away. So with customers choose that shift, Nutanix is the platform I always have success with. And with that, I'll hand it over to Frank to introduce himself.
Frank Lipinski. Been in the industry forever. Seems like forever. Doing VMware since the very beginning. Been at Nutanix almost 7 years. So here to give you our story and tell you how we're different.
Cool. Thanks, Frank. So before we get into that, I want to talk about how easy it is to deploy and migrate to Nutanix. Let me first take a minute to give you a quick overview of who we are. So Red 8 is an engineering-led IT solutions provider focused on helping organizations like yours solve real business and technical challenges. We work with customers of all sizes around the cloud, security, automation, and data center modernization projects. And whether it's a targeted project or a fully managed service, our goal is always to deliver solutions that are modern, scalable, and aligned with your business requirements. So from a company standpoint, we have a strong national presence. We're in more than 14 cities across the US with even more expansions planned this year. One thing that really sets us apart is that we're independently owned, which gives us a lot more flexibility in how we support our customers and how quickly we can move and change with our customers. As part of the larger Insight Investments families, our primary business, Insight Financial Services, is an IT leasing company that manages about $1.4 billion in assets. And that creates some very unique advantages for our Red8 customers because of that relationship, we can be extremely creative on the financial side. Whether that's converting a traditional CapEx purchase into an OpEx-friendly model, in-house leasing, or building lifecycle refresh programs, the best part is we can do it all in-house. So on top of that, we do operate a state-of-the-art technology center and a partner with over 200 solutions providers. That means that we can validate designs, test solutions, and let our customers see technology in action before they make a purchase decision, and that includes Nutanix. So at a high level, our approach is focused on helping you get from where you are today to where you want to be faster than you can do it alone. We start by working with you to learn and understand your business and your technical needs. From there, we can help you acquire and consume the right technologies while making sure that they integrate correctly into the rest of your stack. And if you don't have the time or resources to manage it all, we can layer on managed services so that you can stay focused on your core business. But I'm not here to sell you something and disappear until renewal. My goal is always to become an extension of your IT team, to understand your business, your priorities, and your full technical stack. That way I can recommend the right solutions, help you grow, and make sure every investment with us delivers its maximum value. So these are the 4 core practices we typically focus on with our customers. Though, of course, we can provide you all the infrastructure platforms and services that you need, like Nutanix, and wrap consulting, integration, and support around all of them. But the 2 practices I'm most excited about right now are Red8 Harmony and our AI practice. A lot of organizations are moving from CapEx to OpEx, and every vendor now seems to have their own as-a-service model. The problem we find is that each one works a little differently, which creates confusion for IT and finance teams. So Harmony is our way of delivering a consistent, unified consumption experience, no matter which vendor or technology is underneath. So with Red8 Harmony, you get predictable pricing, simple expansions, AI-powered capacity reporting, and a single operational model across all of these different platforms. And we can apply this to various different platforms like storage, networking, and end-user devices, and even hypervisor platforms like Nutanix. And then there's AI. Wherever you are in that journey, we can help there too. And that might mean that we are enabling your end users through workshops and one-on-one training, or it could be we're helping your data team and administrators test AI services safely in the cloud. But for our customers who need full control and privacy, we can also deploy complete private AI stacks like Nutanix Enterprise AI directly into your data center so that your data and models stay private and secure. So when customers ask why they choose Red8 for their Nutanix projects, it really comes down to 3 things: expertise, outcomes, and trust. We've deployed, secured, and supported Nutanix across every kind of environment, from 2-node edge clusters to multi-data center footprints, and even into the major cloud providers. We know how to build it, scale it, and run it the right way. That combination of deep expertise, proven results, and a security-first mindset is why our customers trust Red8 for their Nutanix deployments. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Frank to talk more about the Nutanix platform and how easy it is to migrate away from VMware.
Got it. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. All right, so Nutanix, quick history. We've been around since we were founded in 2009. We shipped our first product in 2012. And in the 2013, 2014 timeframe, we had a government entity that was that wanted to use Nutanix. They did not have VMware at the time. They didn't have any hypervisor. They asked us if we could develop our own hypervisor. And Nutanix, and the way we do it, we said, sure, well, we do that. So anyway, took us 2 years. And in 2015, we released AHV, which is the Nutanix hypervisor. And that's what gave us the ability to compete on the hypervisor side. The difference being is Nutanix is a fully integrated hypervisor with our HCI solution. So when you do Nutanix, it's not like you have to buy servers from vendor A and storage from vendor B, whether you pick HP, Dell, Lenovo, Cisco now. If you pick any one of those vendors, there's hardware that works with Nutanix. So it's still Nutanix controlling that operational feature. So it's still Nutanix under the covers. Questions customers are asking is, how can I reduce costs? Because as Ronnie said, the VMware pricing doesn't seem to be very amiable for a lot of smaller customers, even for the larger ones. Technical debt, how can I do AI, which Ronnie mentioned. So Nutanix is not just an HCI play anymore. We're a complete platform. We have specific hardware that supports AI. We can do native Kubernetes on cluster. So you can actually manage your Kubernetes next-gen applications and your VMs all in the same place. So it makes it really easy. And it's not like we bolted something on. We've actually integrated it in the solution, one single place to go. Hate the term, but single pane of glass, right? I mean, what am I doing? Hold on. There we go. There we go. So we can do applications. We can do our own Nutanix unified storage file. So we can be a file server. We can be an object server if you have a need for S3 object-based storage. We can do block-based storage. This has all been developed by Nutanix over the years. So we at the core, we're a storage data management company because we handle all that storage management. That recently changed with our partnership with Dell and with Pure Storage. We can now be an add-on to Pure Storage or Dell PowerFlex storage, when Nutanix is the management plane, but your storage happens to live on that third-party SAN. Selfishly, I still prefer HCI because of the performance and the control. But Nutanix looked at it like we need to meet the customers where they're at, right? We have a lot of customers out there or potential customers that are Pure Storage. And those people want an option to get away from VMware. Well, now we have that option. It was released probably 2-3 weeks ago. So we can run Nutanix with Pure Storage. Some caveats, if you want to learn more about it, we can have a meeting and we can talk about what those things are. But needless to say, you can now keep your Pure Storage if you love your Pure Storage, and we can use Nutanix as hypervisor, and Nutanix becomes that management plane. So right now we've got cloud is very challenging. It's high cost. There's a learning curve. If you want to go to AWS, or if you want to go to Azure, or if you want to go to GCP for Google, you need to then train people to be able to go there. The core infrastructure, which we've had for years, you've got all these parts and pieces. You've got maybe using Zerto for replication. You got VMware for virtualization. Servers, you got all these different server versions. Networking, you've got Brocade, you've got Cisco. And then the storage systems, right? You've got to manage all of those different stacks. With Nutanix, we give you the ability to consolidate those, and you no longer have to take those, all those pieces. Nutanix can handle the management no matter where you live. Let me just close this out. There we go. So this is your AWS. You got your Google, you got your GCP. You have all your workloads. Some customers have one cloud and on-prem. Other customers have two clouds. I don't think there's anybody that has three, but who knows if people want to spread it out. With Nutanix, we can now run bare metal in any one of the clouds. So you can get bare metal servers from Azure, from AWS, from Google. Nutanix's software can run on top of that bare metal, and you now have a Nutanix infrastructure that's managed by the same Prism Central that we have for all of our other workloads on-prem in the cloud. So our view of the world with the hybrid multi-cloud is we don't really care where the workload lives. Nutanix becomes your management plane. So whether you want to run those workloads in AWS, some on-prem, maybe Azure, some on-prem, we can do that, and Nutanix becomes that central point of management. And because our licensing is portable, if you start out today and you run Nutanix on-prem, 3 years from now, you decide that I want to look at going into the cloud. Those licenses are portable. You can move those licenses into any one of the clouds. All you do is pay for your subscription cost, and those can move wherever you want them to go. Questions up to this point? So let's close this out.
Sounds like we're good. Yep.
Go ahead.
No, it sounds like we're good. Yep.
Okay, so with Nutanix, we can save you up to 40%. I've seen more than that, but 40% on average, because with all your cloud providers, you have to pick a t-shirt size, right? I want a large VM, or I want a small VM, or I want whatever that happens to be. The problem is there's no VM that's the perfect size for storage, for memory, for compute. There's no, so what ends up happening is you may need a small compute VM, but because of your storage needs, you have to go to an extra large. Well, you're now paying for that compute that you don't need. And we refer to that as micro waste. So you're paying for things that you don't need. With Nutanix on bare metal, there is no cost per VM. It's a cost for the bare metal, and then Nutanix sits on top of that. And then you can allocate however many vCPUs, memory that you want. And that's where we can save you money, because we're not wasting resources putting Nutanix on bare metal. With the cloud providers, because you have to pick a size, that's where you end up having some waste, and we can help you optimize that. And that's where we can get to about a 40% savings over native VM workloads in the cloud. And here's what I was talking about. This is your core IT. You've got your servers, your virtualization, networking. With the Nutanix cloud platform, we consolidate that because Nutanix does its own replication. Nutanix does its own management. Nutanix controls the networking at the hypervisor level. And we don't care who the vendor is, as long as it's authorized hardware from Cisco, Lenovo, Dell, HP. They all have authorized hardware that's been validated and tested by Nutanix. And you can pick your hardware vendor of choice. You can have one cluster with HP and you can have another cluster with Dell. We just can't intermingle those in the same cluster because of Nutanix's unified lifecycle management. With Nutanix in our HCI solution, we can actually manage your patching from the hardware firmware level, BIOS, all the way through the hypervisor. So with Nutanix, you truly get one place to look, one place to upgrade, and we do everything from the hardware all the way through the hypervisor on the software side. And that works with any one of the vendors as long as you're on the platform that's supported by Nutanix. So we can do with HP calls it DX. They're getting rid of that. It's going to be their DL line is now going to be supported with Nutanix. Dell has their XC is what they call it. Cisco has their UCS is now fully supported with Nutanix. Cisco actually sunsetted a couple of years ago their HyperFlex, which was a competing product, and they only do Nutanix now. And then we do some Lenovo. I seem to see Lenovo more in like Asia and Europe than we do here in the US, but we do work with them.
That really is a valuable part of the platform that my customers like, right? We no longer get where our server is old firmware and we've updated our VMware a couple versions and now something breaks. From a single interface inside of Prism, we're updating both the Nutanix platform and the server firmware behind it, and Nutanix has validated all of that in the background, and you literally just next go. It's so nice.
Yeah, I think that's the people that have been doing VMware for a long time. One of the analogies I said, have you been through a VMware upgrade? And how did you determine whether your hardware was ready? You had to go through the HCL list. You had to manually find what version of the BIOS is supported with this version of VMware, what version of drivers, right? All that stuff you had to manually do. With Nutanix, we automate that as what we call a pre-flight check. So when you go to do an upgrade, we'll scan the environment, we'll look at all the versions, and we'll tell you whether you're ready to go or not. And if you're not ready, we'll tell you what needs to be done. So we don't just throw you an upgrade and say, here, figure it out. Nutanix actually, with our LCM, helps you walk through that process. And I think that's one of the big things that customers really like about Nutanix.
Yeah, and it really keeps our environments more secure, because more often than not, I see people who've never updated their firmware on their ESX hosts. And yeah, maybe nothing broke, but they are still running very old and insecure things that could potentially be taken advantage of. So it's a no-brainer here. It's a great feature.
And then we also covered the edge. So we have edge licensing. So if you've got a bunch of small sites with 2, 3, 4 VMs, we can license those sites by virtual machine versus number of cores, which gives you flexibility. So you may need AI at the edge, right? Or Internet of Things at the edge, but you want to pay for that 96 cores or whatever that number of cores happens to be when you only have 3 or 4 VMs. We give you the ability to license just those VMs on those edge sites. And so you're not paying for all the cores, even though you can have the cores for processing power, like if you need AI at the edge, but you don't have to pay for all the cores on the Nutanix side. We can do replicate. Like I said, we have built-in replication. You can replicate from the edge to your core site. We can replicate from on-prem to the cloud, from the cloud on-prem. We can go in different directions. You typically don't want to do from the cloud on-prem, because then you're paying egress charges, and that becomes really expensive, right? But we can replicate any Nutanix cluster, any Nutanix cluster. Very easy to do. All right, so we've got you got the cloud, you got the core, you got the edge. So the good thing about Nutanix, like I said, we're a true hybrid multi-cloud. We don't care where your workloads live. Nutanix becomes that central point of management. All of our upgrades are done with 0 downtime. So when you have a 3-node cluster or a 4-node cluster and you want to do your LCM upgrade, we automatically take care of moving the VMs around, shutting that host down, doing the patching, and then bringing back up, and then doing the next one. And one of the things that Nutanix is really good at is we will not leave you hanging in the middle of an upgrade. Where if you start a VMware upgrade and something goes wrong, you're like scrambling trying to call support. With Nutanix, if we start going through our process and one step fails, we stop it right there, because the cluster is still running, it's still functional, the business is still working. We stop that there. You open up a support ticket, we fix whatever that problem happened to be, and then we keep on going. So there is no loss of business continuity. The business always stays operational. So all of our solutions are N+1. If you lose a node, the business doesn't even notice it, and you just keep on going. And that's how we do our upgrades. Leverage.
I want to call out support, since you mentioned it real quick. VMware support's not been good for a long time. For anybody who had to call it, Nutanix support is excellent. Generally, I'd say 80% of the times I've had to call, or my customers call, and I'm in the room, the person that picks up the phone fixes the problem. It's impressive these days.
Yeah, I think Nutanix has been at what they call an NPS or a Net Promoter Score, which in the technology industry is anywhere from -30 to +45. Nutanix for 10 years now, I think it's almost 11, we've been at a 90+. And the number that you mentioned, 80%, I actually tout the number. 85% of the time, the person picking up that initial call can fix your problem, because all of our technical guys are very well versed in all the different. If you have a specific issue with a specific feature, maybe you'll go to a specialist, but 80 to 85% of the time, we can fix your problem on that first contact. It can be a call, it can be opening up a ticket in the customer portal. Either way, and you have the ability to escalate. So if you open a ticket, it defaults to level 3. You can log in and escalate that to a level 1 if you want. the on-call manager would get paged saying that this ticket has been escalated, and then you can get help. So we allow the customer to determine whether that problem is critical to their business or not. So
it's one of the best experiences I've had with support in my IT career.
It is really good.
Yeah.
So cost reduction is where we can kind of help you. It really depends on the size of the customer and how they're doing licensing today. I know one of the things that Broadcom did is they got rid of the per VM pricing on the edge for their robo sites, so that's not an option anymore. So that's why looking at Nutanix may be a good option if you have a lot of those smaller sites. We have specific hardware and a really tight relationship with NVIDIA for AI. We can help you get to the cloud if that's what the business wants. I know I had one customer that they were acquired by a larger company. That company mandated that they go to the cloud. They really didn't want to, but because they already had Nutanix, but because we could take Nutanix and actually keep their operational model, there's no extra training, there's no extra anything other than the cost of the bare metal. They felt comfortable doing it because their day-to-day management stayed exactly the same, even though those workloads didn't live on-prem anymore and they lived in the cloud. To them, they didn't really have to care about it, right? Because it's still Nutanix and it's still Prism management, so it's still all the same. And if you guys are interested, if you go to the Nutanix website and you go to nutanix.com/bootcamp, in there you'll see we have boot camps that run every week, multiple different boot camps, some for AHV, some for migration, some for Kubernetes, all free of charge. Just register and then show up. No cost to you, but it gives you a good feel for what Nutanix's platform can actually do. Not just it's a hypervisor, right? It's a lot of different things that can kind of grow with you over time. One of the places that we started back in 2012 was VMware. VMware was our bread and butter. We didn't have a hypervisor until 2015. Every product that we shipped was for VMware. We still support VMware today. I don't know what that's going to look like down the road as VMware keeps making all these changes and kind of blocks people out. But as of right now, we still support ESX8 with Nutanix. Like I said, native Kubernetes, you can run Ansible and Terraform if you have automation of your workloads. If you have just VMs, you can do that as well. It doesn't make a difference. All right, so when we meet with you, we're going to go through a document similar to this. What it's basically saying is, what do you have today, and what will that look like tomorrow with Nutanix? And we help you build a blueprint to understand, this is what I have today, these are all my applications, my databases, and this is what it's going to look like when we go to Nutanix. So why AHV? Will I lose any capabilities? These are the questions that customers got to ask. Am I the first to deploy this hypervisor? Will my apps run on it? What's the learning curve? How painful will the move be? So Nutanix has kind of addressed all of these in a few different ways. One is we can tell you that the experience is going to be better than it was with VMware. The way that we manage VMs is a little bit different than the way VMware does, but it makes it, once you see how that works, you'll see why we did what we did. It makes the life of the IT operations guys so much easier, right? I mean, our whole goal with Nutanix over the years has been make the IT guys' life easier, because at the end of the day, IT guys do a lot of work. They get a lot of grief. If something goes really, really good, they get no credit. If something goes really, really bad, they get slammed, right? So it's to make their lives easier and to show them that you don't have to do it the way that you've always done it. They said learning curve, very, very small. Most apps will run on it, but let me qualify that. You may have an appliance from a vendor that has specific, they built that appliance to run on VMware. Well, that appliance has to get tweaked in a couple different little ways to be able to run on Nutanix. However, we've got 1,200 plus solutions that are validated on Nutanix today. So this becomes less and less and less of an issue. Now with the Broadcom they started 2 years ago, we've had so many more ISVs jump on board and become what we call Nutanix ready. So this is our ecosystem, right? You always hear that term ecosystem, right? These are all the parts and pieces of Nutanix that have partners that are involved with creating this ecosystem. So all your major players in the firewall world are going to have appliances for Nutanix. All the major networking players typically have the capability of working with Nutanix. Nutanix is completely API driven. So with Nutanix, you can automate tasks really easily if you have an automation team to do certain things without going into like LCM and clicking a button. You can automate those because everything that Nutanix does is an open API that you have access to that you can actually write no code against, right? Low code, no code. We can also do automation with third-party products. For example, Infoblox is a big player in the DNS IPAM space, right? We can actually integrate with that, and we can make calls from Nutanix to that Infoblox appliance. So if you have a disaster situation and all your DNS is controlled through an Infoblox or even something, anything else, you can automate that failover on the DNS side as well, because DNS is kind of the hinge point of is my failover going to work or not? Kind of our lineage from 2014, the birth of A3. We had 50 partners, then we went to 2020. We've really seen the acceleration of adoption of our hypervisor. So if you look at this scale, 2016, we had 13% of our customers were running our hypervisor versus VMware or Hyper-V. 2017, it went to 24, and then see it jumped a little bit every year. You see the big jump from like 21 to 25. We're at 82% of all of our customers now run our hypervisor versus VMware. We have very few that even stayed on Hyper-V because we make the management life a lot easier than they did in the Hyper-V Microsoft world. So 82%, and I think it's even higher than that today. That's maybe dated by a few months, but a good chunk of our customers are now running on Nutanix's hypervisor. And these are the Nutanix ready, just a snapshot of some of the vendors that have been certified and have certified Nutanix to work with their products. It's pretty widespread. Epic was a big one in the medical space. Meditech was another one. Those are two big ones. Let me go back one. Omnissa was recently released. Omnissa was the VDI from VMware. It's now called Omnissa. Omnissa is now supported to run on the Nutanix hypervisor. So if you have remote desktop today with VMware, you can now run that solution on top of Nutanix.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big one. I know a lot of people were still tied in their VDI environments to VMware because they didn't want to go to Azure with it. So yeah, I'm super excited about getting to touch that.
Yep. So migration complexities. There's a lot of things you have to think about and that you have to do. With Nutanix, we've actually developed a tool called Move. And that Move tool can move file shares. It can move VMs. It can go from pretty much any hypervisor, well, Hyper-V, ESX, to Nutanix, but we can also move workloads from the cloud into Nutanix. So if you already have some VMs running in the cloud and you really don't want to stay there, you can actually migrate those back on-prem to run on Nutanix's hypervisor.
I also saw in 6.0 that we can move NSX firewall rules, DFW firewall rules, along with our VMs if you
That
happen to be an NSX customer
yeah,
already.
that was a recent
Yep.
addition that we
So
made
one
for them.
click, everything gets moved over into Nutanix Flow, which is our microsegmentation tool.
Yep.
Pretty
And
impressive.
so move it. Basically, you create a migration plan. You click to migrate, and then we actually seed the VM. So if you're coming from VMware, you create a migration plan. So you have to figure out these VMs that I have all work together, and these should all move over at the same time. So you create a migration plan. You pick those VMs. Nutanix seeds the data on the HV side, keeps it in sync every hour. So it's nothing that you have to do. Once you start that migration, we seed all the data, and depending on the size, it could take a day, it could take an hour, it could take 10 minutes, right? We get all the data, and then every hour we actually keep any changes in sync. So any changes that happen, we keep those in sync. When you're ready to do the migration, you log into the web interface and you click go. We shut the old one down, do the final sync, bring the new one up. You do all your testing, and if it works, you leave the old one alone. And what we do as part of that migration, when we shut the old one down, we actually disconnect the network adapter. We do that because what we found out early on was customers would go and they'd start the VM up for whatever reason because somebody noticed that it was down and they think it should be up. Well, when they start it up, if it's on the network, it's going to create havoc on the network with duplicate IPs and whatnot, right? So we actually disconnect that. But if you go in and test your VM and it's not working, you go back into the VMware side, right click it, you edit it, you reconnect the network card, and you bring it back up. So it's not that you can't bring it back up. We leave it. We just don't make it so people can accidentally bring it back up. Kind of our platform to Nutanix as far as platform capabilities. So hybrid cloud, Nutanix has their thing, VMware has their thing. We've got a like for everything that VMware does. We have a like product. Sometimes we combine them into, like, if you look at NCI, Nutanix Cloud Infrastructure, we've taken all those bottom 5 or 6 things, and that's one thing in the Nutanix world. It's not a bunch of different things that were added on along the way. Like SRM was a bolt-on over time. NSX was a bolt-on. Tanzu is a bolt-on. All that stuff is built into Nutanix. So we do all of those things that they do, but we do it with one single platform with our infrastructure.
Yeah, it's even better than that. Like in VMware, we had to deploy OVAs for those functionalities like SRM, and let's just say replication. And in Nutanix, it's literally a checkbox. Sometimes the
Yep.
Prism Central, the vCenter will need to reboot, but generally it's just a checkbox and wait a little bit, and that feature becomes available. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Nutanix did really well was when
Yeah.
we came out with the product, whether it was acquired or whether it was homegrown, we always integrated into Prism. So it was when people would only have one place to go. Managing NSX can be an absolute nightmare. You have to have 5 additional VMs. You got to do all this stuff. With Nutanix, it's just in there. You just have to create a policy and tell it to go, right? So,
Yeah, no OVAs, no IP addresses, no DNS entries. You just checkbox and the feature becomes available.
So we have a proven methodology to do migrations. We had one customer in Massachusetts, actually, that they had over 3,000 VMs. They got their bill from Broadcom, and they said, no way. Within 90 days, they moved 3,000 VMs using Move to go from VMware to Nutanix hypervisor. That's a pretty healthy 3,000 VMs, right? And remember, as you're doing the migration, you can live on both sides, right? You have some VMs running in VMware, you have some VMs running in, with the smaller customers that have like 100 VMs, 200 VMs, they can get that done in 1 or 2 weekends and then they're done, right? It's the big guys that have to really think through how they're going to move everything. Like I said, we can do file share. So if you've got Windows file servers today running and you wanted to run those on Nutanix's files, which is built in, it like he said, is a checkbox and a license, and that's it. We can actually migrate file shares from Windows file servers to Nutanix. I think we've actually released the move tool can now actually migrate NetApp file shares to Nutanix as well. So we keep adding things on as we go. But what started out to be just a VMware migration tool is now all encompassing. I can move from the cloud to the cloud, on-prem, back into the cloud. I can use move to do a lot of different things now. And that's it for me. Did I talk too much or not enough? Good.
Perfect.
Okay. So
Well, any questions out there from anybody in the field? Well, then great. We will wrap this up and give you about 20 minutes back on your day. Like I said, feel free to reach out to anybody on this invite if you want some additional information or follow up. But otherwise, we're all here to help.
yeah, and go to the Nutanix site and do /bootcamp. It's a singular, not boot camps. And you'll see all the different boot camps that you have options for. Like I said, we run 1 or 2 a week. I know ours run every Wednesday, and it's a different topic every week. Some are NKP, some are which is our Kubernetes, some are NAI, which is our AI. Others that are strictly focused on migrations. And those boot camps, you get a workbook, and you get to walk through the process.
Yeah.
If you're saying, yeah, because I can talk to them blue in the face, and you may believe me, you may not believe me. With a boot camp, we actually give you a cluster, an instruction book, and you can walk through that process with us, and you can see how easy it is actually do.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for your time.
Thanks everybody. Appreciate
Bye.
it.